Hi there, this is Ray with Easy Simple Mechanic. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to continue working on this Miller 225G to see if we can't get the fuel system fixed permanently, and then see if we can't get this thing to weld, which is the final thing that we need to do with it. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to start off with changing the oil on this unit. To change the oil, we just need to pull the plug that's on the filter side of the engine here. So we'll just pull this plug right here, and we'll let that oil drain. Of course, I've got a catch can down here on the bottom, right down here, to make sure that we capture this. Okay, so we'll just tighten this back up and we'll be done with the oil change. Okay, if you look at the label here, it tells you that we need to add capacities 1.5 quarts. So we'll go ahead and do that, and this oil change will be done. Okay, so we got the oil changed as you saw before, and we went ahead and put 1.5 quarts in the filler so it's got oil. What I did here is I went ahead and put some of that epoxy putty around there and sealed that copper pipe, and it's getting really stiff now. So I'm gonna leave that overnight to get stiff, and that should be okay and hold this solid. It's already firmed up quite well. So I also replaced the rubber hose on this and the rubber hose out to the filter here. I installed the new fuel pump here, which is, you guys saw me before taking it off from the backside, and then just put in new hose all the way to the carburetor. You know, just goes right into the inlet on the carburetor, and that's pretty much it. And then one thing that I did here for this solenoid, just so you guys can see what I'm doing. This solenoid is bad for the idle solenoid. What I did is I just made this little wire, this hanger wire deal that hooks in here. So for idle, that's at idle. And then we just unhook it there, and it goes to operation. Now you can weld, and whenever you want to put it back at idle, then you just go ahead and clip this wire back in there, and you're back to idle. And we'll show you that when we get it running here in a bit, hopefully. We'll show you how that works. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and put the filter back on here. And then we'll go ahead and see if this thing will run. Basically, the filter just has the 2 screws that hold the base on. Let's look at that. This just sits right in there. Remember, that has 3 screws that bolt to the carburetor, and then there's a little pipe, I guess PVC system or whatever they have here. Then the thing that holds it to the frame is just 2 screws, one here and one on this side. Where is it? There it is, right there. And then so we'll just put those in, put the filter back on and everything, and see if we get it running so that we can see if the adjustments are okay on it. Okay. Okay, this thing has a strange setup because you put the filter on, then you put this little two-sided nut on there, and then you go ahead and put the cover on, and then you bolt the cover on into that nut that's in there. And I guess that's how this thing gets tightened up. So I guess that's it for that. Oh, and I almost forgot, don't forget to put the sock around the air filter. Sometimes you can spray a little oil on that sock if you work in a very dusty environment and you want to keep some of that dirt out of your engine. A lot of folks do that. In this case, I'm just going to put the sock on there. If he wants to, he can put a little oil on it if he wants to use it that way. Anyways, let's put this cover on. To get this started, now that we've got everything put together, is we need to make sure that the idle is set by having this wire hooked up to pull back on the solenoid so that that's on idle. And really that's, we're just manually doing what this function does. When we have the switch in the start position, which you go over and you turn it to start it, then it pops to this idle position. And then when you want to weld, you put it to the run position. So basically what we're doing without having the switch energize the solenoid, we're just basically holding that at the idle position. When we get ready to run or weld, then we'll let loose on the idle solenoid so that the governor takes over and this thing will generate or weld. Okay, so first thing, let's see if we can get this thing started. I pulled the choke just a little bit and see if that'll do it. And then we're just gonna crank it over and start it up. There it is. It's at idle. So we're gonna go ahead and put it into the run position. So we'll go ahead and let this cable loose. Okay, so we saw how that works. It was generating good. My idle set might be a little bit low, and that's quite, took a little bit to warm up, but it works. So I think we're good there. And we just have this pull wire here to do. Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do to remedy this situation, I think the easiest thing to do is just to cut this piece of metal and just weld it in the center of those two legs there. So I measured I think it's 36.5 inches. So I'm gonna go cut this piece of 2x6 metal, and then I'll just bring it over and we'll clamp it in there, and we'll see if this thing will weld it up. Okay, so there we have our 36.5 inch piece. We'll just take it over there and see if we can't get that welded up. Okay, I got this set up here. Now, before I set that evenly, because I don't have the correct spacers there, is I went ahead and got this level on this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack this side in, and then I'll remove the wood and I'll get that side over there level. I'll tack that in, and then I'll burn the welds in. So let me get this thing running. Okay, so we got the pieces tacked. That the welder seems to work just fine. I got a little bit of a gap over here, a little hole that I made because I had too much of a gap there. So, but I did get it tacked in, so it ought to be good enough. Well, it's not the best welding I've done, and obviously it's been a long time since I've done some welding, but it's good enough for what I need to do. So my main concern was that that welder worked, and it did. So we're good to go. I got the guy coming to get his welder. He's been itching for it, so we'll get it back to him and we'll be done with this video. Well, folks, that's gonna do it for this episode on this Miller Bobcat 225G. That's gonna do it for this series. I guess we'll move on to another project next time. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys, and we'll check you guys out on the next one. Thanks for watching.